All right. Here we go. So this is my first day streaming, so I am a little bit dubious as to whether I know what I'm doing or not. Oh my goodness, let's get rid of that. And we're going to be looking at Godot. We're going to be looking at learning a little bit about coding, something a bit different. I've seen all these tutorials out there on how to code your usual platform game. It seems to be what everyone wants to make. It's either a platform game or some kind of Zelda type adventure game, RPG, rogues, and so on. So I thought, let's try something a bit different. So a while ago, I created a Unity engine that was designed to create, it's kind of like an audio point and click. So I want to have a go at trying to recreate that. So I suppose I'll start off by showing you, once we prototype a video. So I'm going to try and recreate, oh my goodness, where is it? There it is. So this is something I did back in 2016. It's just an After Effects file, but it gives you kind of an idea of what I'm going to try and achieve. So we have a screen on the left, background graphic. We have some kind of queued audio files that play. We've got a system for interacting with objects on the screen and within the location. A system for interacting with characters in that location. The different exits or routes from the current location and what you currently have. So let's just play this real quick. So you can see, so he's interacting with an item, and the item has a number of ways of interacting with it. So it's actually a little bit easier than a standard point and click in that you don't need to guess. It's going to actually help you understand what can be done. That might seem like cheating, might seem like super easy, but there's going to be a bit more depth to it than just being able to flip a switch. Anyway, let's have a look. So I'm going to flip a switch here.
Airlock now secured.
The crash had opened the airlocks. I imagined the bodies floating outside the ship. It turned my stomach.
So we interacted in some way. We achieved a goal, a quest within the game. And we made progress by doing something within this scene. So we're now tapping on a dial.
I tapped the dial with my fingers. Nothing happened. Doesn't this always work in the movies?
So anyway, so the objective of this scene here that I came up with a writer, Steph Marks. She's really good. I'd like to try and recreate it in a bit more depth and make it an actual workable puzzle as a kind of prototype. So that's that. So where do we start? Well, we could just dive in. We're going to create a new project. What should we call it? I'm going to call it Sfordio, because that was what I called it back in the day of using Unity. So we could just dive in. Here's Unity. Here's Godot, in case you haven't seen it before. But I think what we really want to do is start off with a bit of planning. So I'm going to create a file first. So let me just create a document. this may seem like a really boring start to creating a new project. You've got this great idea, you're dying to get stuck in and make it happen, and the last thing you want to do is start planning in any way. But it's worth it. You're going to save yourself a huge amount of time if you plan your concept first. Now, that doesn't mean you need to take it to extremes. You can, obviously you can have an idea in your head and code a little prototype real quick. In this case, though, and I'm certainly not confident doing this, but there's going to be a somewhat of a lot of object-orientated coding here. So let's just get to grips with it. So first of all, we're going to have a location where we're located in the game. We're going to have objects that you can interact with. We're going to have items in your possession, potentially. We'll call that the player, right? Player. Because that player might have other things. They might have items. Now I'm in extreme zoom here to try and make it easier to view the stream. But so the player might have items. He might have health, sanity, whatever, the usual. I don't know if we'll have any of that stuff in this, but we'll see. So locations and characters. So going back to my video, we had a location. We had objects you could interact with in that location. We had items in our possession, and we had other characters. And we had locations that you could move to. So what we're looking to do is identify all the main objects of the game. So in a typical platform game, that might be a player, it might be an enemy. Hold on 2 secs. Typical, right in the middle of a live stream. Let's see if I got this. Here we go. Let me see if this is actually working. I've not even checked. All right. Okay, it's working. Ooh. So, all right. So I'm not going to go on too long, another 15 minutes or so. So, we'll call this designing game objects. So, what does a location have? Well, it's an audio-based adventure game. So, the location is going to have a name, unique identifier for that location. It's going to have some kind of introduction. You have entered something, someplace. It's going to have a background image. 2 secs. People are asking me what the name of the stream is. People. One person. Whether they can find it or not, that's another question. So it's going to be a background image. We're going to have some kind of, what we're going to have in a location. We're going to have objects. So that'll be, we'll just say some kind of list of objects. And on that point, we're going to have a list of characters as well. Who's in that location? What else might we have? Exits or places you can go while you're in that location. There might be a load more. That's a good start, I think. Okay, so there's an object in that location. Oh. Sign into chat. Oh, man. See, I'm so new to this. Let's have a look. Sign into chat. Okay. All right. I'm signed into chat. All right. Thanks for testing this with me, because I literally have no idea what I'm doing, man. So we're trying to work out what you get in a location. So the name of the location, the introduction to that location. So that's audio. A background image, which is it's an image file, whatever that is. A name, which is just text. So I'm trying to build out the properties of a location. What would an object have? Well, it's going to have. It's also going to have a name. Man, it's a lot to think about. I've got some notes here that I've written down, but not really very useful. One thing I did write down is is the object an item or not? In that, can it be picked up? So we could go item, true or false. Is it something the player can pick up? And then I suppose if you're interacting with it, I suppose we could call that actions, and that would be a list of actions. So we could have push, pull, smash, kick, prod. But what I like about this is we aren't going to be limited to something like you'd get in a game like Monkey Island or any sort of old school point and click where you're limited by particular verbs. Here, we're giving you the option. So if we really want to confuse the player, we give them a huge amount of options for each object they look at and let them decide which one seems like a good idea or not. Introduce some humor there. I'm just thinking, what would you say, Real Rain? And then I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to say that on live stream. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, what does the item look like? So does it have an image? Item image, picture of the item. I don't know whether we do that or not. And that's pretty much all I've got. So what are the actions? What does it mean to interact with an object? I don't know. I'll come back to that. Characters. This is beautiful because I found this awesome piece of software called inklewriter. And inklewriter lets you create interactive dialogues. So I don't know if it's got any examples. Let's have a look. Game developers. So basically what inklewriter apparently allows you to do is create some kind of interactive story where you can communicate with that, have a full dialogue system and pick which dialogues and create dialogue trees and decide, what how the interactions with various characters will go and really have your decisions affecting decisions later on, which is nice. So I'd like to utilize this for interacting with the characters in the game. So I don't think I've got to work out is how the engine will work and how the dialogues are introduced to the player. I have no idea yet. I need to work out more about that. One thing I thought we might need is some kind of portrait image, picture of the character. Oh man, that's my spelling. Pure cute. And then some kind of queued dialogue. I guess I could be having a dialogue with that character, then something could happen, and then meet the character later on, have another dialogue. Does that mean it's another character? Does that mean, so many questions we don't know at the moment, but all we're trying to do is define what objects our game has. So it has a location, it has objects in those locations, it has you and some properties, whatever they are. Sanity might be fun, a horror would be fun. I'd love to do that. Something really actually quite scary. Maybe. I'm easily scared. Characters, maybe even some sort of mini games later on. I don't know. Mini games? Question mark? Potentially. So I don't want to go on too long because I want to go and actually play some games rather than working on them. So I'm going to be doing another 7 minutes. So let's see what we can come up with. So we've got this concept. So we want to start creating something. So how will this all work? We've got all these objects. What does that actually mean? Well, if we think about our game is going to need some kind of script. So we've got a starting point. The player traverses through the locations, interacting with objects and characters, solving puzzles, having dialogues. So there is a time, a process that the player must go through. And I think the best way to create something like that would be a script. So, we might say we start at point A. Point A has a banana and a monkey. That's an item and a character. And maybe we pick up the item, feed it to the monkey, and so we solve the puzzle, and then move on to point B. Let's call that location. So we've got some idea of what we want to actually achieve. We need some kind of way of allowing the player to interact in order to progress. So we've got to come up with a concept of some kind of scripting language or design that will allow us to create this. Right now, I've no idea how I'm going to do that, but the point of this is that, thanks man, did you say smart? I don't know what that was. I don't know what that's a reply to. I need some kind of like ding when someone says something. Well, that could get annoying if people actually start watching the feed. I wonder if there's any delay. If I say, like, are you watching, dude? If I said, write something now, how long does it take? Just go blip, 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 blip. Oh, never mind. Maybe a huge delay. So, okay. So we want to create some kind of script. I've written script up here as well. We need some form of system for transitioning through the game. So how do we do that? Well, inklewriter, that's a nice little start. Inklewriter export. So inklewriter, you can export your story data in an easy to parse JSON format for use in a game. For those with Unity projects, however, we recommend Ink. Well, we're not using Unity. To access the raw data of your inklewriter story in JSON format, simply append .json to the end of your share URL. Like so. Let's click on that and have a look. Oh my goodness. Jesus. Right. Okay. Let's put that in a JSON viewer. JSON viewer. View. Oh, that didn't work very well. Anyway, so JSON, JavaScript object notation. It's really cool. It's like a really simple way of describing objects. I think that's the word. So it is, let's look at it like this. A squiggly bracket signifies the start of something. We've got a field called updated at and a value, which includes a date and time. And then we've got another one called created at and another date and time, and so on. So we've got data and values. So it's a nice tidy format for creating scripts. And if inklewriter uses something like this, then it makes sense that I would want to also create something along these lines, although it's not very pretty. It'd be great if it was formatted. Oh, look at that, that's better. Format. Right. Let's have a quick look at this. So what we're looking at here is, it's kind of like what we talked about back here, in that, you know, we want to have, let's say, a location with a name and all these properties that belong to that location. In this case, we've got a dialogue. It all comes down to, and then its content is this text. So this is what the character's saying. It all comes down to now. What you see when you look in my eyes. Do you see a liar and a cheat, or do you see your friend, your very best friend? Look me in the eyes now. Tell me what you see. It's interesting. So it then has some options. So if there's if conditions, I don't know what those if conditions would be. I think that's where it should go next, link path, but it is about you, something or other. So that would be like another one of these keys that it links to next, and not if conditions. Again, not sure what that is. And then an option. So I think what's going on here is the dialogue would say it all comes down to now. It reads that out, and then you have the option, only one option, to say, don't make this about me. And then it will move on to, but it is about you. But it is about you. I see, yes. But there's another option here, by the looks of things. So you've got two options. One option is, don't make this about me, which goes here. And the other option is, what do you see? Oh no, it's I see ... which takes you to, what do you see? Look. So we could actually play this. If we take this .json file off, we can actually play the script in inklewriter and see what it's like. I'm glad you could make it. I didn't think you were coming. Of course I was coming. For God's sake. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have worried. Only I know you're angry with me. So you can see we've got a dialogue system here, and we can work through it. It's really good. So, of course, integrating something like this into the game means that there's a huge amount of content, writing, and creativity required to give it some depth. And, well, I wouldn't do a great job with that, but I know a few people that would. So once we've got something up and running, we will ask them. So I'm going to put some notes in my planning document. So creating dialogues. Oops. I'm going to put a link into there. I'll put a link to inklewriter. Inklewriter, happy days. Ooh, no SSL. And I'm going to put a link to the JSON file, so we can come back to that later and have a look. Oh my goodness. I don't like this zooming in stuff. So, I know we've not even looked at Godot yet. Look at this big, scary piece of 3D software. And this is, of course, where the funnels start. Now, I know creating a platform game is much more fun because it's very quick to get the hang of. It's very quick to see results. And what we're talking about here is a little bit more long-winded. But I really want to take the opportunity to do something a bit different in the Godot scene, and take you through the planning, take you through the whole conceptual stage, and really, because I have no idea how I'm going to approach this, and I'm not an experienced Godot developer, so I want to be able to take you through the process of learning how to use something like this, because not everyone, I think, is able to immediately understand the process required to research the answers you need to get where you want to go. So I want to take you through the process of learning a platform like this, rather than just teaching you how to use it. You're going to learn with me. So that's going to be really annoying, probably. We shall see. So that's my first streaming session. Thank you for joining me. And we'll do another hour, hopefully tomorrow night. We'll see where we're at.